Okay, the fluids have been checked.
Yes.
We're in the car. Have the keys.
Will it start after all this
The
time?
ignition. It's time to fire this podcast up.
By golly, it did. Well, it's great to be back after over a month here on the Walt Parr Podcast. Here, uniting all generations and types of Mopar fans, lovers, and enthusiasts everywhere. From Walter P. Chrysler to today's Chrysler, Mopar, and beyond. This is episode number 14 of the Walt Parr Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm your host, Scott Gresser, Mopar since 1960. Ever so grateful you can here to join me again here on the Walt Parr Podcast. Want to get in touch with me? My email address is waltparpodcast@aol.com. That's WALTPAR podcast at AOL.com. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, and now on Reddit. Search Walt Parr Podcast, and on YouTube and Rumble, search Walt Parr. Grateful to have you here with us. It's been a while. Had a lot of dental work done on my mouth, obviously, and boy, there was times I could barely even talk. I was just like so slurry. It wasn't even funny. And one time the medication he put in there to numb, it looked like I had a stroke. But I'm okay. I'm doing well. I have one more visit to go back. Doing well. Been working on the Demon 340. I got the rear end wiring done on it and a few other small things, and still doing a lot of research because the car was totally tore apart into a shell. I got to figure out how to get things back together on it. And like I said, I've never done this before. And it's been a learning curve, and it's been a fun curve, and I've enjoyed it. And like one person told me, it's when you do it yourself, you're so much more gratified than when you have someone else do it. And so far, that has been ever so true. Got to thank Debbie Deich for that. So coming up on today's show, I'll have about 22 minutes worth of news if you want to fast forward through that, if you don't want to hear it. I'll be talking about using the resources that you have in your car that you may not, and just know what's out there, even though you may or may not use them, but at least know they're there. Also, I will be giving my comments on the efforts of Frank Rhodes Jr., so be sure to listen to that. And, of course, we'll end up the show, as always, with the Mopar event calendar for the rest of 2024. After all, I'm doing this on September 30th, 2024. So it's great to be here today. Let's get you caught up on the latest news from the Stellantis brands worldwide, the Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Ram brands worldwide. On the Chrysler side, coming up for the Pacifica minivan for 2025 model year, David Zatz and Patrick Roll of Stel Power, Jonathan Ramsey of Autoblog, and Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders report there will be less models offered. First off, the Voyager name will return as a value model in the Pacifica model lineup. Now, the new Select model that they have will be available with both gasoline and PHEV powertrains, and so will the Pinnacle model. The Limited will only be available with the gasoline powertrain. Now, pricing and trim content can be found in their articles on their web pages. David Zatz, and the final thing on Chrysler, David Zatz of Stel Power, with sourcing from Automotive News, reports the Chrysler brand is in no hurry to bring out any new product. But when they do, it will be an electric vehicle. If you remember, if you've listened to my podcasts and listened to news previously, Carlos Tavares said when he took over as Stellantis, took over all the brands, he goes, with all these brands, we're going to sort these out, but they have a 10-year window to prove that they can make money for the company. Well, here it is. It's been 2 or 3 years since he said that. What have they done for Chrysler to see if they can make money? I haven't seen anything. They've already wasted that time. Now they're going to start doing it. We shall find out. There's rumor there's supposed to be something coming out in 2026. That means another year is gone. But we'll see. Coming up on the Dodge brand, Robert S. Miller, Mopar Insiders, was at the reveal of the 2024 Charger Daytona held during Roadkill Nights event that was held at the M1 Concourse in Pontiac, Michigan. Dodge CEO Matt McAleer hosted the presentation and stated the electric Charger Daytona will be in dealerships towards the end of 2024. The electric four-door RT and Scat Pack models will be in dealer lots in the spring of 2025. Unfortunately, in another report by Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders, the internal combustion-powered Charger 6-pack will be delayed until the second half of 2025. Now, do you want to know what a new Charger Daytona will run you? Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports Dodge has launched on their website a custom price configurator. So go to Dodge.com to check that out. David Zatz of Stel Power and Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders also report the Charger Daytona RT and Daytona Scat Pack models are officially on sale now. One more Charger report, Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders and Ron and Glon of Autoblog report that Dodge has put out a teaser post on its Instagram account with an LB body Charger, that's the new generation Charger, law enforcement pursuit vehicle. Well, speaking of cop cars, the 2025 police vehicles are now in production. David Zatz of Stel Power reports the Durango Pursuit will be available with the 3.6-liter Pentastar and the 5.7 Hemi V8. Jeep also has a Wagoneer L model as well, and just check those out on their page. But the 5.7s that are available now, those were ones that have been stored in a warehouse since last March. Now, when that warehouse empties out, the Pursuits for Durangos will only be available with a Pentastar V6. But not all is well with the Durango Pursuits that are currently on duty. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders, along with sourcing from Fox 32 Television in Chicago, Illinois, reports more trouble with Durango Pursuits. Police Chief Konstantinos Nousas of the Merrillville, Indiana Police Department made a public statement to Stellantis on the Durangos they have purchased and how they are having engine failures caused by faulty oil coolers. Now, Chief Nousas said the department is forced to sell them at a huge loss to the taxpayers. Stellantis gave a response to Chief Nousas stating that they are currently working on the problem. And we need to make sure those Pursuit vehicles are running in tip-top shape, because these two next two reports are part of the reason why. Because an attempt at an upfitter in Warren, Michigan was made to steal 6 Durangos was stopped by security personnel. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders was sourcing from WJBK Fox 2 Detroit. Reports the suspects arrested include 2 16-year-olds, 2 17-year-olds, and a 24-year-old. A 6th subject remains at large as of August 21st, 2024. All subjects were from Detroit, and Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders, with sourcing from WJW Fox 8 Television in Cleveland, Ohio, reports 3 Challenger SRT Hellcat wide-body jailbreaks were stolen from a Chrysler dealer in Alliance, Ohio. The dealership was broken into late at night. On the personal side of use of Dodge Durangos, another 3 Durango Last Call editions are coming out from Dodge. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders, Patrick Rawl of Stel Power, and Jonathan Ramsey of Autoblog report the first 2 will be 1, a 2025 Durango SRT Hellcat Silver Bullet, and the second one is a 2025 RT 20th anniversary model. Both articles focused on the Silver Bullet. In case you're wondering, the manufacturer's suggested retail price for a Silver Bullet is $113,000, $113,325 plus freight. Please remember, the price will vary depending on what dealership you go to and what the dealership itself wants to charge for the vehicle. So shop around. And Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports the Last Call Durangos will be available for sale in Canada as well. And he also reports the 20th anniversary RT models are now showing up at the dealerships. And the third one to come out, Jason Balfour of Mopar Insiders, Patrick Rawl of Stell Power, and Joel Stocksdale of Autoblog report a 2025 Durango SRT Hellcat Hammerhead Edition will be coming out soon. Now, do you want some streetable rims for your Challenger SRT Demon 170? Ones that you can put tires on and drive the car on the street? Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders has found out Direct Connection will be offering a D170 street rim kit. The kit includes two 20 by 9.5-inch front wheels, two 20 by 11-inch rear wheels, four wheel center caps, four tire pressure sensors that are already installed on each wheel, and a full set of lug nuts. The wheels and center caps are finished in a low-gloss granite finish. In Mexico, for years, the Dodge Attitude was built by Hyundai. Not anymore. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports for 2025, the Attitude will now be built in China by GAC. The Attitude joins the Dodge Journey that's sold in Mexico, which is also built in China by GAC. Finally, from Dodge, if you want more power to the punch for your electric vehicle upon acceleration, Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports Stellantis has been awarded a patent for a rolling launch control system. In a nutshell, just like the title says, the system will provide a faster launch after the vehicle starts rolling. Now to the Jeep news. Do you remember when Jeep CEO Antonio Filosa said that something needed to be done about Jeep pricing? Well, Patrick Rawl of Stell Power received pricing for the 2025 Compass. While the base sport model's price will stay the same, the Latitude's price will be $2,000 cheaper than the 2024 model, and the Limited and Trailhawk models will be $1,500 less. Standard equipment levels will also be higher than what was offered in 2024. Jeep in Brazil has hit another milestone. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports, since the Jeep brand's return to Brazil in 2015, it has now sold over 1 million vehicles. Jeep in Mexico has brought out two new models. First off, they'll be launching a special edition Wrangler. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports a Sahara Tuscadero Sky Freedom Edition will be coming out. Only 100 of these units will be produced and again will be only sold in Mexico. The second model coming to the Mexican market, Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports it's a Wrangler Unlimited Sahara 4xe model and it's now for sale in Mexico. Some sad news to report: an assembly worker lost his life at the Gladiator assembly line at the Jeep Toledo manufacturing complex. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders, was sourcing from WTOL television in Toledo, Ohio, reports an employee was working on the undercarriage of a Gladiator when he became trapped underneath the vehicle as it was going down the assembly line and lost his life due to his injuries. Now, the Toledo Assembly Complex news. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports the Toledo, Ohio Jeep Assembly Complex, which produces Gladiators and Wranglers, is experiencing disruptions due to parts shortages. The plants are not shut down, but certain portions of the plant may have to stop. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders and David Zatz of Stell Power report Stellantis now has a new head of Jeep, and his name is Bob Broderdorg. Mr. Broderdorg was previously Senior Vice President of Ram brand operations. Well, they're back building Jeeps again. Arab American Vehicles in Cairo, Egypt will be building Jeeps. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports this time around it will be a Grand Cherokee L Limited model, which will be built there to support markets in the Middle East and Africa. It was reported in the past that Jeep will bring out a Wagoneer L law enforcement vehicle. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports it is now available, but it is not built for pursuit purposes. After selling a lot of vehicles in Europe and receiving awards for their design, Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports the JJ Body Jeep Avenger that is only sold in Europe has just a 3-star crash rating from the European board that tests crashes vehicles. In other Avenger news, Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports the Avenger will be going on sale in Japan. Now, for some of us older folks, do you remember the advertising slogan, Jeep, there's only one? Well, Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports that promotional line will be returning. Now, let's get to the latest on the Ram brand news. Citing an article from the Detroit Free Press, Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports Chrysler Ram CEO Christine Fuel is hinting the Ram ProMaster City may be returning to the North American market. And if it does, it will be based off the Fiat e-Scudo van. After not being offered for a few years, Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports Ram in Brazil will be bringing back the 2500 Rodeo Edition. This time around, it's to commemorate the 77th anniversary of the first rodeo ever held in Brazil. And the number of units, well, that will be 77 as well, as only 77 will be built. In an effort to make the Brazilian market Rampage more affordable, Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports a new Bighorn trim will be introduced with a 2.2-liter diesel engine mated to a ZF9 speed transmission and standard four-wheel drive. Joel Stocksdale of Autoblog, David Zatz of Stel Power, and Jared Balfour of Mopar Insiders report there will be special editions of the 2024 Ram 2500 heavy-duty Power Wagon and Rebel models. The Lunar Special Edition will be coming out for these models. Visit their websites to find out more. It's called a Lunar Special Edition package. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports the Mexican market will be getting a new subcompact truck. The Ram 700 Laramie CVT is based off the Brazilian market Fiat Strada and is only available with front-wheel drive and powered by a 1.0-liter three-cylinder engine that is sourced from the Stellantis small engine family and comes with a CVT transmission with auto stick. Well, got some recalls coming up here. Jeep has some right here. The first has Jeep having two minor recalls. David Zatz of Stel Power reports the first one involves 27 2024 Wranglers with the rear spare tire blocking the taillights, and the second one involves 243 2024 Grand Cherokee L's with insufficient welds on the child seat tethers. And there's more news on Jeeps being recalled. David Zatz of Stel Power and Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders report over 32,000 2018 to 2024 Wranglers and Gladiators will be recalled for the instrument panel cluster screen going blank while traveling. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders and David Zatz of Stel Power report 1.2 million DT Ram 1500 pickups will be recalled for a software problem that could disable the electronic stability control system. The DT body is the current Ram 1500, the newer style. I think I may have reported on this before, but they brought it up again. And please, with any recalls, please have your VIN or vehicle identification number handy. If you don't go to a dealer, contact your Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram dealer to see if your vehicle is part of any of these recalls. And also, I want to note that when the news comes out of these, sometimes it is a lot quicker than what even the corporation lets the dealerships know. So please don't think the dealership's stupid on it. The consumers know before the dealerships do. You'd think it'd be the other way around, so we would be prepared for when you call. But that's not always the case. Now, lots of Stellantis corporate news here. As always, Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares a while back stated, and I am paraphrasing, that factories in Italy had better be doing something pretty quick to keep the Chinese automakers from entering the country or face extinction. Well, guess what? Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports that Leap Motor, the Chinese auto manufacturer who Stellantis invested in 51% of the company, is test driving two models in Turin, Italy, to prepare the cars for European markets in Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, and Spain. So much for protecting your home turf and your home factories. And let's not forget what I reported earlier with the 2 Chinese-built vehicles built by GAC coming to Dodge dealers in Mexico. They are currently also building them for certain East European countries. Poland comes to mind as well. So they are on their way. 2 different models from Leapmotor for the European market, as well as the 2 that are in Mexico. As it turns 50 years old, Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports Direct Connection will be offering a Dodge Charger body for junior roadster dragsters. How much are these little bodies? The manufacturer's suggested retail price will be $3,765. The price may vary depending where you buy it from. Ordering will also be available through dcperformance.com. And remember, with all dealers, prices may vary depending on where you buy. I guess I already said that, but that's okay. We'll say it again. Stellantis is being sued in the United States. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports shareholders of Stellantis stock filed the suit in the Southern District of New York of the U.S. District Court. The suit is accusing Stellantis of misleading investors of the company's financial health and other weaknesses, which later led the stock price to drop in value. And Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders was sourcing from Reuters and the law firm of Scott plus Scott report a lawsuit has been filed in the Netherlands, alleging that the corporation Stellantis purchased, Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, quote, installed legal software in its vehicles to manipulate emissions tests, resulting in financial harm to FCA investors. The lawsuit was filed by the Scott plus Scott law firm. The Trenton, Michigan engine plant will be temporarily shutting down. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders was sourcing from the Detroit News reports it's due to an excess number of engines in inventory. The plant produces 2 different versions of the 3.6-liter Pentastar engines. That plant should only be down for about a week, but also David Zatz of Stelpower reports that the plant has been chosen to produce 2 new upgraded versions of the 3.6-liter Pentastar engines as well. Automotive News reports the United Auto Workers Union has publicly announced they may strike the Belvedere Assembly Complex if Stellantis delays the start of production of the new midsize pickup and other promises that have not been met. If you want to read the entire article on the Automotive News website, you need a subscription to read it all. And Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports more strikes may be coming to other facilities as well. And in an article dated August 26, 2024, Robert S. Miller has an article that highlights the UAW grievances with Stellantis. In more United Auto Workers news, David Zatz of Stelpower and Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders report the union isn't happy with Stellantis wanting to move production of the newly designed Durango to the Windsor, Ontario, Canada assembly plant, citing contract violations. The union filed a grievance to the National Labor Relations Board. A possible strike vote at the urging of the United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain may also be coming. And Robert S. Miller reports that Stellantis has issued a statement that they have honored the commitments in the United Auto Workers contract. Autoblog has a report from Reuters, and Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders himself report that Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares will be coming to the United States to personally address the problems of lower profits and quality issues that have been going on. And speaking of Mr. Tavares, he did come to the United States to personally see what is going on that made the company lose the money they did last quarter. But Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports he had someone join him, Stellantis chairman John Elkann. But they did not visit the Sterling Heights assembly plant, the plant that had vehicle problems as they left the assembly line, as reported in a previous episode of the Walt Parr podcast. They did not visit that plant. Now, Stellantis has a new head of North American manufacturing. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports former Rivian and Nissan manufacturing leader Tim Fallon has taken over that position. Now, there have been rumors, I'm sure if you're any kind of a follower of Stellantis or Chrysler or whatever, you've heard the rumors that the Chinese automaker BYD wanted to buy the Chrysler brand from Stellantis. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports both BYD and Stellantis have individually denied the rumors. But Mr. Miller also reports why the rumors were flying, and they were pretty legitimate ones, why people would start thinking that. Officials from BYD were spotted visiting the Chrysler Tech Center in Auburn Hills, Michigan, the assembly plants in Brampton and Windsor, Ontario, Canada, and the Chelsea Proving Grounds in Chelsea, Michigan. That was also the site of the car show for the 1985 Mopar Nationals. I was there. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports Frank Rhodes Jr., the great-grandson of Chrysler Corporation founder Walter P. Chrysler, has sent a proposal to Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares regarding the Chrysler and Dodge brands. Mr. Rhodes' goal is to take the Chrysler and Dodge brands and bring them back under American control. Stellantis has replied back, saying they are not for sale. We know this story will continue to develop. After making certain adjustments, Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports production will start again at the Toledo North, Jefferson Avenue, and Mack Avenue factories. The factories produce the Jeep Wrangler, Jeep that's in Toledo, of course, the Grand Cherokee L, and the Dodge Durango. Now, more of the Durango is in my next story. And after I was rehearsing this on Friday night, September 27th, for the first time, the next morning, on September 28th, on Saturday, Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports layoffs are coming to these plants. The Jefferson Avenue plant will be laying off 142 supplemental and 69 full-time employees, and the Mack Avenue assembly plant will be laying off 170 supplemental employees and 36 full-time employees. The supplementals are there to temporarily fill positions, especially during the summertime when the full-time factory workers wanted to spend time with their families during the summer on vacations. Now, what about the Durango? The Windsor, Ontario, Canada assembly plant currently builds the Chrysler Pacifica minivans. It is based on the STLA large platform. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders, along with sourcing from the Windsor, Ontario Star newspaper and Auto Forecast Solutions, reports 3 more vehicles based on the STLA large platform will be built at the Windsor plant in the future. The Pacifica minivan will be joined by the Charger Daytona EV, a new Chrysler crossover that is expected in either 2026 and in 2027, a new Dodge Durango 3-row SUV will be built. Rumor has it the name may change to Stealth. There's one person who said that, but I don't really see anything official yet. Not saying he's wrong, but right now we're going to go with Durango. And that's the cause for the UAW, because they thought it was going to be staying there at the plant at Jefferson, along with the Grand Cherokee, but it is being built on its own platform away from the Grand Cherokee and will be sharing the others. So I'm sure that was the reason for Stellantis to do that, but it would have been nice to let the UAW know that as well. And in more assembly plant news, or shall I say, Rams going where? Stellantis announced it will be retooling 3 plants in Michigan. David Zatz of Stel Power and Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders report the Sterling Heights assembly plant will still build the internal combustion Ram 1500, but will also be building the Ram 1500 REV and the Ram 1500 BEV. The upgrading to that facility will cost $235.5 million. The Warren assembly plant will be building electrified Wagoneers. The upgrading to that facility will cost $97.6 million. The Dundee engine plant will manufacture battery trays and do machine work on front and rear beams for the STLA large architecture. The upgrading for the Dundee plant will run $73 million. It will also continue to build 4-cylinder engines there as well. But now Stellantis, after all that, has announced 191 workers will be laid off at the Sterling Heights assembly plant. That Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports that leads to 177 supplemental workers and 14 full-time workers will be laid off, and that's what makes up the 191. And of course, they say the layoffs are due to an assembly plant adjustment to start building the Ram BEV electric truck. David Zatz of Stelpower reports the former Tipton transmission assembly plant building in Indiana has been sold. IRH Manufacturing LLC is investing $500 million to convert the building into a solar cell manufacturing hub. The site of the former Mount Elliott tool and die facility has also been sold. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports a German automotive supplier called Laepple, which is Laepple Automotive, has purchased the building and will turn it into a stamping plant. Now, two Stellantis casting plants have earned top safety awards. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports the Kokomo, Indiana casting plant and the Etobicoke, Ontario, Canada casting plant have been recognized by the North American Die Casting Association for their commitment to workplace safety. Can you believe it? Stellantis actually themselves showed up for a show. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders, with help from SoFlo Josh Auto Review, reports Stellantis set up a display themselves at the Miami, Florida, USA annual new car show this year. Now, since Stellantis has announced earlier, and you've heard that here on the Walt Parr podcast, that they were cutting back on their promotional budgets and everything else, not showing up for events, and any displays you might have seen in other cities previously, those were actually put up by the dedication of the local Stellantis dealer in the area where the shows were held in. That was the case when I went to the Cleveland Auto Show. It was the dealers that put up the display at the Cleveland Auto Show. It was not Stellantis. The latest Ward's Automotive Best 10 Engine Awards, the current ones are out. And Byron Hurt of Autoblog, David Zatz of Stelpower, and Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders report the Hurricane i6 is on Ward's latest list. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration is launching an investigation on 2021 through 2023 Wranglers and Gladiators for fires being started in the passenger side of the engine compartment. If you want to know how far along their investigation is going, go to nhtsa.gov. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders just got the latest report from Car Edge, and once again, the Dodge Hornet is the top of the least selling vehicle list. But that's not all. The Grand Cherokee and the Grand Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer L are also in the top 10 of that list of the worst selling cars out there. The back and forth fighting between Chrysler brand's Stellantis dealerships and Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares rages on. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports a letter from the Stellantis National Dealer Council was written to Mr. Tavares, basically highlighting several mismanagement issues that is affecting the dealership's bottom line and industry market share. Stellantis wrote back saying they were not happy with that letter that was sent to them. David Zatz of Stelpower and producer of the Motels videos on YouTube reports Stellantis wants its people who worked at the Chrysler Tech Center in Auburn Hills, Michigan, and are still working from home to please start coming back to work at the Tech Center itself. Now, this was reported once before, but this time it's different because it's not to individually work on their projects alone, but to work with engineers located in other places around the world. Remember that? They were laying off people, putting them, I think it was Morocco and Brazil. So now they want the people in Michigan to help those people out down there. Amazing. David Zatz of Stelpower was sourcing from Automotive News, Autoline TV, and Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders was sourcing, which he sourced from Reuters. Report the board of directors of Stellantis will be looking into finding a successor to CEO Carlos Tavares, whose current contract expires in 2026. Now, this is something that's done regardless, just to see if they want to keep Mr. Tavares or if they want to find a replacement. But they're doing the search now, and it did state that Carlos Tavares is still part of that search, so his name is still on the list of people to look for. Stellantis, wants to lower the vehicle inventory by 100,000 units by the end of 2024. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports Chief Financial Officer of Stellantis, Natalie Knight, was on a conference call with Bank of America during the 2024 European Autos and Future Car Virtual Conference. And she says it will partially be achieved by less factory output and lowering prices for consumers. Stellantis wants to cut even more. You think they've cut enough, but they want to cut even more. Robert S. Miller of Mopar Insiders reports this time it will be with the people and companies involved with their marketing campaign. David Zatz of Stell Power, he's written a new book, everybody. It's called Century of Chrysler. It's a book that chronicles the first 100 years of Chrysler. Now, you can go to stellpower.com, scroll down to the articles written on September 16, 2024. Click on the Chrysler Centennial title for more information on how you can get your copy of Century of Chrysler by my good friend David Zatz of Stell Power and Motels.com. And finally, one of the news sources, and you won't be hearing their names anymore, unfortunately, and I hate that, but one of the news sources I and a lot of others use, Autoblog.com, has been sold to the Arena Group. And got to thank Ronan Glahn, Byron Hurd, Merle Martin of Junkyard Gems, Jonathan Ramsey, and Joel Stocksdale for the great reporting they did through the years. Now, I've been still sourcing that, but there's not been one thing from Stellantis. If you're a GM or Toyota fan, they got you covered. And I've read an article criticizing what this Arena Group did with Sports Illustrated. Looks like they did it here with Autoblog too. So they were there for 20 years. They did a great job. Funny stuff, serious stuff, newsworthy stuff. They covered it all. It was really fun. Some of the pictures they even had with some of their articles was really good. The video, if it's still out there that I remembered, was the flying push lawnmower and how they got that to work and the music they played with that. It just flew all around. It's a flying push lawnmower. That was a funny one. It's funnier than you think when you watch it. So thanks, Autoblog, for all the things you've done for the auto industry. We will miss you very, very much. Now, you can find the full links of these stories and more on my Facebook, Reddit, LinkedIn, X, and Threads pages. Such things as Robert S. Miller doing previews of certain Jeeps and other models, giving his normal thorough go-through of them, and a lot more. So make sure you check out my links on my social media. And again, that's Facebook, Reddit, LinkedIn, X, and Threads. On the feature portion today, I want to bring up two things. First is to make the best resources you have in your vehicle. In episode number 13 of the Walt Parr Podcast, I reported how the National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration is conducting an investigation. Why am I having trouble? Investigation into people not being able to get out of their Dodge journeys. When someone reports the news, people in Florida, they had a saying when a hurricane was coming, "We are here to prepare you, not scare you." And I say that because there was an incident that I didn't bring up in the report because I didn't want to scare you, where a fire started in the engine compartment of a Dodge Journey while someone was inside the car and that person couldn't get out. Unfortunately, that person did pass away from the injuries sustained. I'm quite sure panic set in, and yes, we all panic. It's just not that person. A lot of us can panic, some a little bit quicker than others, but we do. That is human nature. But the thing is, how much does a dealership or person selling that vehicle to you educate you, the buyer, on everything the car does or doesn't do? How much does the consumer, his or herself, how do they educate themselves on how everything works? And how much do the consumers really care? In today's world, with all this new tech in our vehicles, we seem to forget the basics. Now, I'm going to be giving you 4 scenarios here, and you'll see what I mean. The first scenario is, of course, that famous key remote we all have with our cars now. People just love pressing that button and voila! The vehicle is locked or unlocked. I would see people getting out of their vehicles in a parking lot, start walking away, press that button, then hear that beep. But if they don't hear it right away, some would be in the middle of the driving lane, standing there, raising their arm, moving it this way or that way, sometimes walking back towards their vehicle, pressing that button in hopes of hearing that beep. But how do they really know that their vehicle is locked? Quite frankly, they really don't. I don't if I use it. When I used to work at the dealership, on 2 different occasions, one customer thought something was wrong with the remote because it only unlocked 3 out of the 4 doors. They didn't think that maybe there might be a lock mechanism problem within the car. In another instance, a person was driving a minivan, left the grocery store parking lot with the rear sliding door open on their minivan. So instead of looking at the upper console and pressing that button, she would search for the remote on her key ring and press that button. There was also another one time where the gentleman says, I don't know why, I had my car totally locked up and secured, and then I came out and noticed the windows were all partially down. That's because some remotes also have that feature where if you press it a certain way, I remember this was on Chrysler 200s, you press it a certain way and those windows will come down part way. That was used as a convenience feature to get some of the heat out of the car before you get there on a hot day to escape some of that build-up heat that was inside the interior. So that was another one. So with this scenario, I am asking you to know how to pull that. There's a certain key that's within your remote. Please make sure you know how to pull that out and put it back in, because if your remote does not work, you still have that key to go to the lock cylinder like the old days and unlock your car and get it running and get yourself home. So do that. Find out where your power door lock button is if your car is so equipped. See where the lock knobs are. If they're in the door trim panel, learn how they lock and unlock the car manually. And also look for that power lock button. And that's what I do every single time. I use the power lock button to lock my car. The reason why is, just make sure you can open your car lock door from the inside. See if you can, and if not, find a way to do that. So if that comes up with that same situation with that journey, hopefully you will be prepared and not scared and get yourself out of there. Now back to old-fashioned thinking. As you know, I'm 70 years old. When cell phones first came out, you had to pay by the minute, and you had to pay roaming charges if you're in a different phone company's area, and also you had to pay for long-distance charges for calls that were not local. And also something else happened. You could be driving along with your cell phone on, and if you're on your cell phone, there would be people that could pick up your signal on a bridge when you're going on an underpass. These people on the bridge can capture your signal. And if they did capture it, then they can make all kinds of phone calls with your phone number, and then all of a sudden you get a bill for something you didn't even use hardly all month, and you had like a $500-$600 bill. It's like, how did this happen? So I keep that in mind. That's why I rarely use my remote to lock or unlock my car. I do now with my newer van because I have remote start, and I love remote start. So I have to use it for that. But for my older van, I never use it. I have a dummy key to unlock the door. I do that because of that instance right there that could happen. So you still get used to the modern things, but you also sometimes remember how you did things in the old ways, and you put the two together, and you'll find that out for a lot of you young folks as you grow older. The second scenario is GPS. Now, I had a customer complain one time that he went and set it up with his home address into the system. And when he wound up there following the GPS's directions, he got there one door shy where that person lived. Here's the thing about GPS, ladies and gentlemen. They can tell you where to go, but it doesn't tell you where you have been. What I do personally, because of my old days, I go to Google Maps, use it like a paper map, give myself a preview of where I want to go, get used to some of the street names around and everything, remember some of that a little bit. And then as you follow your GPS and what it's telling you to do, look around you, see what monuments are around you, a hotel, a park, an office building, certain trees, street names on the signs and whatever. Please keep those things in mind as you're also driving to your destination if it's a new destination. The next scenario, a lot of today's vehicles have convenience buttons on them. They can be located in an upper console or pod, located between the sun visors, like I told you before with the lady with the remote in the minivan, or they can be located in the jam area of the vehicle. And if your vehicle has a console, you'll find some down there too. Find out what these buttons do and just play with them, even the ones in your radio, because radios are so advanced. In the old days, you just turn one knob if you want bass or treble, or it's basically a lot of bass or no bass. And the others, like certain ones, in the old days, you had just front and rear speaker balance, where now you have left to right, front to rear. There's all kinds of different buttons. Radios have equalizers. How much treble do you want? How much bass do you want? And all this. How do you want your balance to be set up on your speakers? There's all kinds of advanced features. How to use your remote on your air conditioning system, your heater system. Some have those little reminders, or those little trip computers. How many miles does it go? Learn how to reset that on your trip odometer. Miles to go to destination, miles to your empty, and things like that. There's so many things on your car nowadays that, get used to using. Find out how your cruise control works. Cruise controls work so much better now than what they used to. They're based off the PCM or powertrain control module in your car. Try to keep all that in mind as you're going along and learn how all those buttons work. It really does help you out a lot. Now, the next scenario. A lot of today's vehicles I did the buttons, that's right. Let's go down to the next one. The final scenario is this. A friend of mine had to work on a Saturday while the Cleveland Guardians were in a postseason game. And he's a true fan of the Guardians. They used to be called the Cleveland Indians, by the way. And he would go to a lot of games through the years. Well, he really wanted to go badly to the game, but he couldn't because he was scheduled to work. Now, he posted on Facebook his dilemma. He's a modern Mopar owner. And he received such suggestions as like, go to this app, go to that app, or stream the game from another source. And another friend of mine wanted to go to Holly Mo Party this year, but knew he would be missing the Cincinnati Bengals game, NFL football game, while driving home. He didn't think of this either. 85% of all cars out there, maybe more than that now than what there used to be, have a device that can help with these situations and even more, and in the case of an emergency. It's called a radio. Everybody streams off their phone. I do it too. Bluetooth off your phone, stream off your phone, Apple CarPlay, Google CarPlay, whatever. I get that. It's very convenient. I listen to a lot of podcasts while I'm working because I do some traveling. So, yes, we do use those moderns, but please don't forget about your radio. It's there. It's free. It's data free. It doesn't use up any data. If you're at work, you plug in a radio. You won't take any bandwidth away for your techies at your dealership to say, hey, you got to stop that. You're using up too much bandwidth. That person with the Cleveland Guardians could have taken a radio to work, plug it in. He had a choice of 3 AM stations and 1 FM station to listen to the Guardians game. All data free, all ready to roll. But we don't think about that. We think about what's on our smartphone, which I do use my smartphone quite a bit. But we have to remember what other free resources we have, and not saying that you got to use them all the time, and sometimes it's boring what's on the AM dial. But please just remember that it's out there, and it's there for your disposal, and it's free. So please don't forget that. Now, here's something about radios that you may not know. When it's dark outside, and it also depends on the atmosphere. So one night it may not do it, but the other night it will, and you will know it. Put your radio on AM. That's right, that boring AM dial that a lot of you don't like. And like I said, if the atmosphere is right, where I am at in Northeast Ohio, I can listen to 5 stations from New York City. I'm south of Cleveland, Ohio, okay? I can listen to 5 stations from New York City, 4 from Chicago, 2 from Philadelphia, 2 from Nashville, Tennessee, and 1 station each from Des Moines, Iowa, Boston, Cleveland, Ohio, New Orleans, and many others. St. Louis, that's another one. Richmond, Virginia is another one. Buffalo or Rochester, New York's another one. There's all kinds of radio stations out there. A lot of them are sports and news talk, but they're out there that you can listen to. In fact, if it's late at night or if it's at night, like for instance, WTAM 1100 out of Cleveland, Ohio. They are the flagship station of the Cleveland Guardians and the Cleveland Cavaliers NBA team. They have they're one of the 50,000 watt clear channel stations, and it has a signal strength to broadcast into 38 states and 4 Canadian provinces. Give it a try, especially for all of you people out of state. If it's late enough and dark where you're at, you can listen to the Guardians right then and there live with Tom Hamilton. The St. Louis Cardinals are on 1120. The Twins are on AM 830, which is in Minneapolis. You can listen to the Cubs, the White Sox, the Yankees, the Mets. And I don't know which stations carry the basketball teams or hockey teams, but they're out there. All free for the listening, as well as if you love country music, AM 650 WSM, if you don't have anything to stream with, you can listen to AM 650 in Nashville, WSM, and listen to the Grand Ole Opry. That's right. Your favorite country western musicians live on the stage. May not be as best sound as if you're there personally or on streaming, but you can listen to it. It's great. Give it a try. You'll see what I mean. So basically, even if you don't use a fourth of these features, at least stay familiar with them and how they work and avoid some of the panic or frustrations that you may have. So just remember that they're out there. Now, I would like to talk about Frank Rhodes Jr. and his wanting to purchase the brands of the original Chrysler Corporation, Mopar and the like, and be part of an American company again. Mr. Rhodes, as I said, is the great-grandson of Walter P. Chrysler. Now, his drive to do this is based on what's been happening with the Chrysler Corporation brands since they got sold to the Daimler Corporation. Now, his sincerity and his mission is definitely proven. The Mopar Collector's Guide YouTube channel called Mopar, M-O-P-R TV. Publisher Robert Wolf sat down during his coverage of the Chrysler Carlisle Nationals. He sat down with Mr. Rhodes, and that, of course, was held last July. The memorabilia that Mr. Rhodes has on his family is amazing. Showed off family pictures, his mom, his dad, his aunts, uncles, everybody. Mr. Rhodes was also interviewed by Racer X on his YouTube channel as well. Mr. Rhodes explained what he wanted to do and why, but both videos are very well worth watching. Please watch. In a later report, Racer X reported Mr. Rhodes has commitments of billions of dollars so far available to purchase the Chrysler and Dodge brands. And thank God for him for that. But I hate to be a pessimist here because, especially with Stellantis, it's been going on for a long time now. Daimler did it. FCA did it. Stellantis is really taking it to the hilt, no doubt about it. But, of course, you've also heard that Stellantis didn't want to sell. Now, of course, like I said, I didn't want to be a pessimist, but I hope he can do it. I really do. And I hope I'm proven wrong, but I hope he does do it. But I'm one of a whole lot of people who would love to see him do it. But we have to be real here. What would Mr. Rhodes be getting for his money? Let's look at Chrysler. It's just a minivan. How about Dodge? It's just a Charger and Durango. The future Durango, Pacifica, and new Charger are built on the Stellantis STLA large architecture. The Hornet is based off an Alfa Romeo Tonale. Will Stellantis allow Mr. Rhodes to build off of them for a while? What about the engines? Yes, we all hated that the Gen 3 Hemi was gone. But please remember what I told you. The Gen 3 Hemis were old, and they were getting outdated. In fact, they polluted, they burn a lot of fuel, but they were fun to drive. Nobody wants to be without a V8. But in my opinion, FCA was riding out the storm, just bringing in the bucks, and did nothing to change anything for the future. You'll find out as I go on further here. In my opinion, a Gen 4 Hemi should have been built and out in production for us to drive at least 5 years ago. And here's some of the reasons here. Yet remember, Jim Farley promised a V8 will always be available for the Mustang. And there are some of you out there saying Chevrolet is still going to build a V8. Now, why not Stellantis? But think about the Chevrolet situation here. What are you going to put that V8 in? A Spark, Trailblazer, Blazer, Equinox, or Traverse? Please remember, ladies and gentlemen, the Camaro is gone. The only cars GM has left that would take a V8 are the Corvette and the Cadillac CT5 and the Escalade. And the Escalade's a truck, so it'd only be the trucks for the most part. To sum up here, Mr. Rhodes isn't going to be able to buy much, and it would take a ton of work to bring back what Stellantis has stripped away. And like I said earlier, yes, Daimler and FCA did some stripping away, but they also did their share to keep Chrysler products to have an identity. But I also have another question for Mr. Rhodes. Why didn't he come out sooner? The PT Body PT Cruiser came out in 2001. The LX Body 300 and Magnum in 2005. The LX Body Charger in 2006 with an updated LD body in 2010. The LC Body Challenger came out in 2008 with an updated LA body in 2016. And the last generation PF Body Dodge Dart came out in 2012. The second generation UF Body Chrysler 200 came out in 2014. What has replaced them? Nothing. The Darts and 200s were gone in 2016, and of course we all know the larger cars were done in 2023. Now what about the engines? The Gen 3s came out in 2003 in trucks, in 2005 in cars. For the cars themselves, the smaller ones, most of them had that 2.4-liter Tiger Shark 4-cylinder engine that was called the World Engine that was built along with Hyundai and other models. It started out life in the PM Body Dodge Caliper and the MK Body Jeep Patriot, and the MK Body was also the first generation of the Jeep Compass. The Dart also had a multi-air 4-cylinder engine from Fiat. But those are all gone. There's no future in that. Remember, the Nissan Altima is gone. The Toyota Avalon is gone. Buick's no longer making cars. Chevrolet, the general model lineup, with the exception of the Corvette, they're not making any cars. I don't own any cars. I hate to see them go, but I own 2 minivans, as well as my 2 other cars, as far as everyday vehicles. And please understand, I hope Mr. Rhodes wins out in this. I really do. He's just going to have an awful lot on his plate. Please give him our prayers. God bless him for his efforts. Just keep that in mind. Now, let's get to the event calendar and wind up this podcast here. In the great state of California, November 7th through the 10th, the Imperial and all Chrysler Products statewide meet will be in Visalia, California. Hosting clubs are the Northern California and Southern California Imperial owners. For more information in a packet, email Stu Swade at s2suede@att.net. October 1st through the 5th, Mopars at the Beach at Daytona Beach, Florida, in the great state of Florida. This is the first year it's down here. Remember, the founder and the runner of Mopars at the Beach, Kathy Pearson Bridges, moved to Florida to be closer to her family, and she moved the event down with her too. Now, you can get more information. It's all one word, moparsatthebeach.org. Search it as one word, or also one word, Mopars at the Beach on Facebook. November 2nd and 3rd, Mopars with Big Daddy at the Garlitz Drag Racing Museum in Ocala, Florida, 352-245-8661 or garlitz.com for more information. The great state of Kentucky, October 4th and 5th, the Indy Cylinder Head Mopar Drag Fest and Car Show. will be held at London Dragway in London, Kentucky. Contact Craig Boone at 606-231-3446 or Bob Rogers at 859-338-6850. In the great state of Michigan, October 5th, it's the annual Roseville Moparts Show at Roseville Moparts at 25838 Gratiot Avenue, Roseville, Michigan. RosevilleMoparts.com for more information. The great state of New York, just before the snow starts flying, October 13th. Mopars at the Valley Car Show and Swap Meet. Also a race, Lebanon Valley Dragway in East Chatham, New York. Hosting club is the Capital Area Mopars. You can check out their information or go to dragway.com. In North Carolina, it's the final stop for the Modern Hemi Shootout Series, and also Fall Mopars at the Rock at Rockingham Dragway in Rockingham, North Carolina. RockinghamDragway.com for more information. In the great state of South Carolina, October 16th through the 19th. This is what replaces Mopars at the Beach in Myrtle Beach. Michael Stark is the head of this. Mopar Fever is what it's called, so they're still having a show. That'll be in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Go to 8FO, letter O, 8FO3mopars.org or go to their Facebook page for more information. The great state of Tennessee, October 18th through the 20th. It's the Apple Tour and Meet in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area. The Solsocian at Soddy Daisy, Tennessee. Now, the hosting club is the Tennessee Valley chapter of the Walter P. Chrysler Club. But please, you need to go to their Facebook page under events for more information because only certain year vehicles are allowed to take part in this event. In the great state of Texas, October 10th through the 12th, it's the Lone Star Mopar Fest in Houston, Texas. The hosting club will be Space City LX Club. Go to lsmfwknd.com for more information. Now, if you have a Mopar event, all Mopar event, be it a show, swap meet, whatever, please let me know. You can email your flyer to me at waltparpodcast@aol.com or message me on my social media at waltparpodcast, or you can even also, if you want to snail mail me a flyer, P.O. Box 455, Apple Creek, that's 2 words, Apple Creek, Ohio, 44606. And of course, please, prior to going to any event that you're wanting to go to, please make sure you contact the event staff to make sure it is still going on. I have a couple things for 2025. I'm going to wait till the end. I will be getting in contact. I saved my list of events. I will be starting to go down that list, start calling these people, finding out if they're going to have it again in 2025. If I can get their information, I will be more than happy to take it, use it. A lot of the flyers I will definitely put on my Facebook. I'll put it on my social media out there, the flyers when I get them as well. And I'll put those out on social media, and that I will add Instagram as well. So please, let me know about your all Mopar-only events, and we'll get them on for you. I want to thank you so much for joining me here on the Waltpar Podcast. I want to thank for the final time, Byron Hurd and Jonathan Ramsey of Autoblog. And for the rest of the time, Jared Balfour and Robert S. Miller, Mopar Insiders. I will definitely miss Autoblog. Everyone should. Patrick Rawl and David Zatz of Stel Power, the Windsor Star newspaper in Ontario. SoFlo, Josh Autocritic, Auto Forecast Solutions, Autoline.tv, Reuters, the Detroit News, the Detroit Free Press, WJBK Fox 2 in Detroit, Michigan, WJW Fox 8 Television in Cleveland, Ohio, and Fox 32 in Chicago, Illinois for their contributions with episode number 14 of the Walt Parr Podcast. I want to thank the 77 followers and the 51 people who like my Facebook page, the 120 followers I have on X, and the 499 followers I have on Instagram, and 54 followers I have on Threads, and the 15 I have on YouTube, and the 3 on Rumble. You can join me as well. Search Walt Parr Podcast or Walt Parr. I mean, I've tried to get my word out. You've heard me say this before. I've sent Facebook messages and emails to over 100 Mopar and AMC clubs combined to get the word out on my podcast. But still, please, I could use your help too. please tell your fellow Mopar fans and lovers and enthusiasts about the Walt Parr podcast. I would appreciate it very much. I've been starting to go to shows whenever I can, start passing out cards. Hopefully you'll be able to spread the word as well and let people know there is another Mopar-related podcast out there. And please, if you can, subscribe. And after you're done, if you like it, please give me a top rating wherever you listen. Any questions, comments, or concerns, you could email me again at waltparpodcast@aol.com, or you can snail mail me at P.O. Box 455, Apple Creek, that's 2 words, Apple Creek, Ohio, 44606. Now, before I go, as I always say, please, whenever you go to a car show or a cruise in, find a Mopar that is totally different than yours and say hello to them. It would mean a lot to both of you. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you join me here next time for the next episode of the Walt Parr Podcast. And as Mike Bonadonna of the Citrus County, Florida, USA Mopar Club always says in his newsletter, keep those highways beautiful, drive your Mopars. Uniting all generations and types of Mopar fans, lovers, and enthusiasts everywhere. From Walter P. Chrysler to today's Mopar and beyond. This has been the Walt Parr Podcast. Take care, everyone. Thank you again for listening. The Walt Parr Podcast is a production of Auto Catawba, LLC. Thanks again. We'll see ya.